Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack, who is going to pop into your screen momentarily. There he is. On today's show, we'll talk about Bowerman getting another elite women's mid-distance runner, another whereabouts violation in the world of track and field, and a Diamond League cancellation. But first, let's start off with everyone's favorite segment. What's Gordon hearing about cross country?
Well, we're both hearing things about cross country, right? So it's not just me. Other people are hearing things. But through the news wire today, Friday, I mean, this podcast could become super old news by the time we post it. So if it is, I'm sorry. You have to pretend you're in a time machine and you're hearing news without us knowing, whatever. Regardless, what I'm trying to say is today the Board of Governors are meeting, NCAA Board of Governors, to vote on one item and one item only. Are they going to cancel fall championships? Not fall sports, just the fall championships, right? So the thing is, NCAA can't cancel anything, right? All they can do is just cancel championships. But the thing is, if you cancel a championship, then all the schools are going to be like, why would we bother having a regular season if we can get no championship? However, there is a sport out there that would have a regular season, and that is football, right? You could see football wanting to. I mean, think about it. How many? You don't need an NCAA championship to have a entertaining, successful football season, because you can still have your 10 games, you can still have a conference championship, you can still have bowl games, and nothing changes, right? And you can have a football playoff because NCAA doesn't control Power 5 championships for football. Anyway,
yeah.
regardless,
Other than eligibility, NCAA is not that involved in FBS when it comes down to it.
Yeah, but what's going to happen though is if the Board of Governors votes to cancel fall sports, that is going to be a way to kind of maybe move the needle on college football. But regardless, this isn't a college football podcast. This is a college cross country, track and field, and NBA podcast. So let's talk about how it affects what we care about most, which is the Sixers play for first time since March in about 5 hours from now, which I'm really excited about. But I think what might happen is, I think that if you think about it, the whole reason why we're even talking about having sports is because of the financial reason. But the only sport that matters financially is football. Like, they're not trying to save cross country. They're trying to save football, right? So I think what's going to happen is, I think that the NCAA today is going to announce that all fall championships are either canceled or being moved to the spring, right? And then by fall championships, I mean all D3, all D2, all D1, except Power 5 / Group of 5 football, which is the typical football. So no FCS, like Division 1 AA is what they used to call it. So I think that's all.
This? Do you have?
No, I'm not reporting.
Is this Gordon's hunch, or is this?
This is what I think.
You have sources on the Board of Governors.
This is what I think is going to happen, because I think if you think about it, they are going to cancel everything that doesn't make money, right? Cross country doesn't make money. Tennis doesn't make money. Field hockey doesn't make money. Volleyball doesn't make money. Division 2 football doesn't make money. Division 3 football doesn't make money. They can cancel all that.
Stop picking on the little guys. I get it.
Doesn't make money, right? So, and if you think about it, the NCAA could be like, all right, the whole idea is risk, right? So why don't we limit the risk? The NBA, right? Technically, they could have brought back all 30 teams, but there's like, hey, let's lower the risk. Let's only bring back 22 of the 30. So the 8 teams that really aren't ever going to make the playoffs don't even bother coming. I think they're going to be like, all these sports that don't make money, which don't have a financial need, just stay home. Let's just have the sport that makes money to keep sports operating for the next 10 years. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I think football, though, Power 5 football, doesn't want them to do that because the optics of all sports except for the big one, football, playing just doesn't look good, right? It doesn't look good to have, whatever, just the optics, right? So it makes football look bad, and football doesn't want to look bad. They want to look like leaders. They don't want to look like the bratty kid who just won't take no for an answer, right? So, but this is what I've been hearing. So that this decision is happening today. Now they could decide against it. They could say, hey, no, we're still doing fall sports. But I think it's easy for a bunch of chancellors and governors and presidents, whatever they call themselves. They call themselves board of governors. None of them are governors. What the hell does a board of governor mean? That's stupid. So the chancellors, presidents, and governors all deciding what 21-year-olds are going to do in college. But this is what I've been hearing. I've been texting a few coaches, and they say they've all been hearing it. They're like, yes, this is what we are hearing. But some of them are saying like, yeah, there is an idea out there that says they're going to move cross country into the winter and maybe even just replace indoor track with cross country. So that's like the big, like, could that happen?
Here's where my reporting maybe contradicts your reporting, because what I heard was, yes, they that is an idea that's being floated, but it would be layered on top of indoor track. So then the distance kids and the coaches would have to decide, are you going to use them for cross country or are you going to use them for indoor track? Canceling fall sports for everything but football and moving it to spring has a very big impact on cross country and track, because it's the only sport that's actually 3 sports, right? If tennis moves to the spring, it's like, okay, I'm sure there's some issues with eligibility or a kid finishing classes and they want to graduate and move on with their life. Okay, that's fine. But everybody else can do this relatively effortlessly, I'll say. Now there's weather constraints and stuff too, but it becomes a huge pileup for cross country and track and field. So that's where I could see a conference saying, hey, we'll have a season. It won't be a championship, but we'll run if they're going to let us compete, if our conference is going to let us compete, we'll do that. And then we'll turn the page and focus on indoor and then focus on outdoor and not try to do something complicated like having cross country at the same time as indoors. That's where cross country and track are different than every other sport out there.
Well, the main thing though is if NCAA does remove the carrot, the championship, I mean, how many coaches, how many athletes are going to want to do a sport where there is no championship at the end, where the only championship at the end is a conference championship? Now, if you think about it, for a large majority of collegiate athletes, the conference championship is the championship, right? Most college athletes aren't trying to win national championships or even trying to make a national championship team, like vast majority. Right. So for the vast majority, it really wouldn't matter whether there's an NCAAs or not, because you were never going to NCAAs. But the question is, if there's no NCAAs, there's no reason a single NAU runner is going to lace up and waste a year of eligibility to win a Big Sky title. Like, this is not going to happen.
Right. And if you're looking just at the Power 5, it's hard to find one Power 5 where there's not at least one individual or one team that is in the hunt for a national title. You go outside the Power 5, maybe you could definitely find some conferences where it's like, all right, let's just run our season. Let's just run our season and compete this fall, and then again turn the page and then focus on indoor and outdoor. But if you are an NAU or a Stanford, would you want to use it during a winter cross country season either? I don't think you'd want to do it then either. I think you'd just redshirt the whole year, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because there's also the fact, like, do you want to like risk a season basically? Because even if they did move it to the winter, there's still unknowns to it, right? There's still potential of chaos happening, and you only get four swings, right? So why waste a swing?
Yeah.
Right? Why? And I think a lot of coaches are just going to be like, all right, whatever, we'll just train and try to win the 2021 cross country fall title. They got to put a season into it.
But I'm saying, if you've already used, say, your redshirt year, then there could be some appeal to, okay, let's just get some races in, and then
but not necessarily. Because I'm sure even for people who've already used their redshirt year, I'm guessing the situation is going to give everyone an ability to
Another one?
not
We're gonna do
compete.
that
Yeah,
again?
because you could. Yeah, no, the whole idea of like you're risking my health by forcing me to compete. That's kind of unfair to the athlete to be told, or you either lose a year of eligibility or you compete in the
Right.
coronavirus world. Deal with it, So I think,
Well, but we already
but
saw schools in the spring. We already saw schools not give that spring year back, that
but the
spring season
school,
back.
there's difference between school not giving it back and the NCAA not giving it back.
But on a
You know what I mean?
practical level, yes. But on a okay, the NCAA can say you get the year back, and on a practical level, schools can say we can't afford that, and then
Yeah,
the end result is that they're not getting it. I'm just saying if you're, I don't know, maybe if you're outside a select group of teams, I think, and you want to get a race in, or you want to have a season, and your conference is saying go for it. I could see them doing it, but I think what happen, wouldn't this be the case? It's just like enough teams are like, okay, well, we're not going to do it then. Enough conferences are not going to do it then, and cross country needs a group. You can't just have a cross country season with a few teams that it's just going to become not worth it because nobody's going to want to be competing. There's just going to be this domino effect of, okay, well, this conference is out, and then this conference is out. This team said they're out, right? They're not going to waste their time on a season with no championship. So then even the teams that want to compete, you're stuck without anybody to run against, really.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be like pretending pre-nats is a national championship. Like we all know all the
Pre-nats
best
with
teams.
like 12 teams. Yeah,
Yeah, we
with
all
a
know the
small
best
group of
teams
teams.
went to Nuttycombe, or the best teams stayed home, whatever. And you're like, oh
Right.
well, we won pre-nationals, so clearly we're the best team in the nation. It's like, no, well, 60% of the best teams didn't show up, right? So
Yeah.
there might be that situation where you're kind of like a fake national champion, put an asterisk on it. What team would you think would be the most like likely to like really go for that fake national championship?
The 20.
Whatever you say, they're gonna feel like
Well,
you're putting them on blast.
well, but would it be? It would be old school college football, right? Where we vote at the end of the year because
Ooh, I
and there's
like that.
no actual head to head. So who's always impressive during the regular season, and then I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's like it's hot because no one ever shows their cards during the regular season, so you don't know
Yeah,
who would do it.
but like
I'm not sure.
who? I mean, like okay, whoever I say is gonna find out, and then they're gonna hear it, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, disrespect." But like,
That's
what are
good.
teams that are like good, but they never have been like? But okay, I can't say the word never because then they're like, "Oh man." Should I be scared of angering people? I don't know.
No, no, it's an
I mean, I think
opinion. You're fine. You're trying to make a joke. Now we've taken a long
okay,
time to
it's a
get to the
joke. I
joke.
think a
That's
team
good.
like Iona would be like, "Hey, we won," or like a team like Furman, or like an Ole Miss, or like a Notre Dame, or like, ooh, I can get really in trouble, like a Portland. I don't know, but
So
like, I think one of the
now you angered
Portland's
Rob
good
Connor
though.
after
Yeah,
he let
Portland's
you
actually
film
good.
their team for an entire week, and
Yeah,
that's how you repay him. Come
I
on,
take
man.
that back. Portland's good. Portland's good. I take that back. But there's teams
Well,
that like,
taking advantage
who,
of the
like,
opportunity.
yeah, who are like notoriously always have a good team, who notoriously can like make the meet, but they're not notoriously in the hunt for a podium. So I guess take
Yeah,
Portland now. Like Portland's in the hunt for podium multiple times, but like the teams that's like, hey, we're there every year, but we finished 10th or we finished 22nd.
yeah.
You know,
It's just hard to tell because the regular season tells you nothing in cross country really. In other even in track you could probably make more bold claims. At least you have some fast marks in the regular season, but the marks don't mean anything in cross country, so you just go in completely blind. So whenever this board of governors meeting, I think you're saying we're going to get a little more insight into what would happen because it sounds like you think this could be the thing that triggers everything else
I think
other
we're
than
gonna
FBS
have.
football.
I think we're gonna have a lot of chatter and talk on Monday, based on what happens a few hours from now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why
Yeah.
we maybe should have done this podcast a little later tonight. But I know you got plans, so we had to do a morning podcast.
Plans. I have a schedule that I adhere to. Yes, you wanted to do it later so you could sleep in. That's the other part of
Yes.
your motive. Well, I don't know what you heard, but one of the people I was talking to, this involves big names within the sport. The idea of putting cross in the winter, it's not just some random person who said, and some committee. It's influential people who are talking about the cross country during the indoor season plan, or what you're hearing in lieu of indoor. They got to figure that part out first. I think that's step one. Would they just cancel indoor, or would they do it at the same time? I think they would try to do it at
That's
the
gonna be
same
a bad.
time.
I think they shouldn't. I think they need to do one or the other. I think they need to do the Gordon Mack plan and just do cross country in April, because that's the greatest schedule that I ever created, where it's just a 4-week cross country season. Boom. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Do it in April. But no
Yeah.
one wants to listen to me.
No, I mean, the tough
I
part
did
has
get a
been,
coach tell me, like, I kind of liked your idea. I was like, thanks. Yeah.
yeah. See, you were just reaching out for validation. I was reaching out for
That's the yeah.
information. That was the
Okay.
difference. You're right, though. By Monday, we'll have more to talk about on this. Let's touch on a few other stories. First off, Gabriela Debues-Stafford, Canadian record holder, is joining the Bowerman Track Club. 3:56 is her 1,500 meter PR, and she was sixth in the World Championships last year. I guess if you're looking for training partners for Shelby Houlihan, who can keep up with Shelby Houlihan, you start with a very short list, but she would be one of them. What do you think of this decision, Gordon?
It's interesting her deciding to leave Laura Muir's training group.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you go from like you don't. It's basically it's not, in a way, like her training partner is kind of staying lateral, right? You're not like going to an even better, because Laura Muir and Shelby Houlihan are in the same category. So it's not going to really be that big of a change of like training partner status for her. But I do think the environment of a giant conglomerate of Bowerman Track Club, what it's become, they have like 50,000 athletes now. I think it's going to be good for her. I mean, I think, she's now training with someone who lives in the same time zone, right? I guess because Canada and North America versus Europe. I don't know. Where did she train before? Where did they actually? What track did they run on? Was she like living in Europe with Laura Muir, or was Laura Muir living in Quebec?
No, I think they were in Great Britain. I know they did a lot of training camps in. At least I saw a lot Muir in a lot of training camps in South Africa too. But yeah, I
So
don't think they were in Canada. But you're right. The conglomerate, it gets bigger. The Bowerman crew gets stronger, and since she is Canadian, it's not a matter of competing for team spots there. And the list of people who can keep up with Shelby Houlihan is short. Krisha Schweizer is game, though. She showed this year that she is able to run with her. But with Debues-Stafford, you have another person there who can push her and work out, stick with her. You could have a situation, I don't know if it would be in the 15 or the 5, then, where Bowerman would have 3 people in an Olympic final now.
3, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could have Schweizer, Houlihan, and Debues-Stafford, because you would need to sweep to do it with pure Americans. Would be crazy, right? One training group getting 3 people all the way to a Olympic final, World Championship final would be incredibly hard, because you got to get through the gauntlet of the trials first, and then make
Jenny
it
Simpson's in the
through.
way.
Yeah, exactly. But now you get 2 on, and then you add her, and you could have a big chunk of that final field there. Interesting that the women, this is the first international athlete, well, that's currently on the women's side of things. Betsy Sena ran for them a while back. The men have had more non-U.S. athletes, but this is the only one that will be currently on their roster for the women.
Yeah, do you think eventually, like, Jerry is just like, seeing the long game, and like is eventually going to have to make like a Canadian Bowerman Track Club, because he's going to start growing it, and then he's just going to start taking over. And now like Justin Knight's going to join next, and then this person's going to join next, and it's going to be wild. By like 2030, Jerry's just going to be taking over North America. He's just going to have a Canadian track club, U.S. track club, Mexico track club. It's going to be great.
I was thinking he's just
Carlos Villarreal will join,
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna have a. He's just gonna take over the women's 1500, right?
That too, yeah.
Like next, Laura Mears gonna be like, well, if they're over there, I'm gonna join. And then Sifan Hassan's already in Portland. That's not a long trip. And then the entire medal podium will be BTC.
He's gonna go the path of Michael Jordan, right? He's just gonna eventually. There are gonna be so many Bowerman Track Club athletes in the 1500 or in the 5K. Let's say the 1500, taking it over. That you know how they call it, like they sponsor every race at USA. It's like the Michelob Ultra Women's 1500 or like the
Yeah.
Honda Civic Men's 5K. Eventually, it's going to be like Michael Jordan, where now every basketball team was wearing the Jumpman logo on their jersey. So there's going to be it's going to be like a Bowerman logo on the sponsorship of the 1500.
Yeah, they're getting very
It's going to be
close
called the
to.
Bowerman 1500, and it's just going to be like,
Yeah.
what's going on? He's taking over the sport.
Yeah, they're getting very close to world domination, particularly in that event. I'll be interested to see how it practically works because of travel restrictions. I saw that she's not going to be joining the group till the fall, which obviously is not a huge deal when you don't have any major championship to compete for in 2020. Let's talk about another mid-distance story, though. Whereabouts again. I know it's your favorite topic. It's better when you and Lincoln talk about whereabouts. I feel like you get a lot more interesting content coming
I
out
just
of
want
it.
to say
But
this
Elijah, yeah, go ahead.
before we talk about the whereabouts. We're talking
Yeah,
about cross country seasons limbo. We're talking about an athlete joining Bowerman. We're talking about a whereabouts failure. We're talking about another Diamond League getting canceled. I feel like this podcast is if a computer listened to all 114 FloTrack podcasts and then generated this episode as like, this is what you guys talk about every time. Because that's exactly what this is. We're talking about the same stuff, but in different order and different variations. It's ridiculous.
yeah,
Pandemic is just these topics: whereabouts, Bowerman, Diamond League, cross country, and that's it. That's the sport.
yeah. It's our SEO. We just plug it in and then we go. As someone who helped plan the show, I'd sort of take offense to that because now I feel like I should be reaching out and really going for ambitious show topics. Yeah, I don't have much to say on Manangoi other than 2017 world champ. He posted a thing on Facebook. It says, and he says that all of his missed tests happened in 2019, and he says that it didn't have anything to do with prohibited substance. He says last year was the worst period of my career when I was upset through injury, which impacted everything on and off the track. I know I've let people down, in particular my coach and fellow athletes, and I also, no matter what I will say here, I'll be criticized. The facts of the case are clear in my mind, and I'm sure there will be a time when it's appropriate to go into more detail, but right now I'm focused on compiling a formal response to AIU, so won't be commenting further. Best wishes.
Gotta love the line. The facts are clear in my mind. It's a good play of words, because the whole idea of
Yeah.
like my truth, right? That's like saying this is
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
truth. I'm living my truth. The facts are clear in my mind. I love that line.
I think this is if you're trying to get a shorter suspension, this is the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's going to contest it, but I think he's also trying to be. It appears he's trying to be upfront. He's already offering the information. Hey, this was a 2019 issue. I missed 3 tests. That was a low point in my career. I'm guessing he's going to mount a defense similar to that. I mean, he's in a similar boat though, as similar situation as Coleman, where trying to compete in the Olympics, it's going to be tough. He would need a 1 year ban, and it would need to be backdated.
Do you think if we were to take every athlete that has had a whereabouts failure, 3 whereabouts failures, right? So everyone that's been in the past, like, was it like 20 people, you'd say, across internationally, right? Coleman.
It's been quite a bit.
Nasser. It's been a lot. Nasser.
Yeah.
Anyway, you take a bunch, right? And we pulled all 20 of those people, and we said, if starting next year, would you be willing to take this as a rule change? Instead of 3 whereabouts failures, it takes 4, but the punishment is a 4-year ban. No matter what, no ifs, ands, or buts. Do you think these athletes would be like, yeah, that's a great idea? Because if they think that's a great idea, that means they are very confident in that their third mistake was bullshit. But if they say it's a bad idea, that means they know that they love to live on the edge and because it's so weird. Like, is 3 not enough strikes or too little strikes? Like, what happens after the second strike that makes you get that third strike? Right? You think hey, when you're in the workplace and you piss off your boss once, you're like, okay, you kind of forget about it, and then the second time you're like, oh shoot, I'm in trouble, and you're getting called in, and you're having to do like team mediation, and like you're on probation because you
tell me more about this,
mouthed
Gordon.
off the wrong way, and then the third, and then you're like, all right, I better not get a third strike or I'm fired, right? So, but these athletes, they had 2 strikes. Why didn't they be scared of the third?
Yeah. Or you go the other way. What if they just made it 2? What if they just made it 2? We do everything in 3s. What if we just did? What if we just did 2?
Why do we do everything in 3s? Is it all because of baseball? Like 3 strikes and you're out. Like, is everyone just subconsciously a baseball fan?
Mm-hmm. I think that's it. Definitely comes back to that. What if they did? You got 1 right, and then this would never happen because of privacy rights or anything like that. But just you got 1 and it was publicly known, so it was announced that you had a missed test, and then the next one was 6 months. So if you got the second one, it'd be 6 months, a 6-month ban immediately. Then the next one would be 12. So and then the next one would be 4. So it just goes 6, 1 year, and then it would jump all the way up to 4 years.
So it'd be like you said, like baseball, where they do like a 25-game suspension, 50-game suspension, year season suspension, and lifetime.
Yeah, I'm just basing it on baseball. That's my goal.
Yeah. Hey man, baseball's back. It was back for 5 innings, and then a rainout came, and now we're back to where we were. It's, of course, I was watching the baseball broadcast. Sorry to turn this into a track and field /NBA/baseball podcast, but it's kind of hilarious that ESPN has been going 6 months without sports, right? And they're like, thank God, finally we could just have a 3-hour live program where we're just showing a sport and we don't have to think, we don't have to come up with ideas, right? And then like halfway in, it's a rain delay, and then they have to fill an hour and a half of time where I feel like they just kind of blew all their ideas in the past 6 months of how to fill time. And now they had to like go back and fill more time. It's kind of like this podcast. We've done 114 podcasts. So we're just doing the next one, which is just a compilation of all of our previous podcasts, with just different people.
It's great.
I'm in a wild mood right now. Just a wild mood.
You sub out Elijah Manangoi, and then who knows what we'll be talking about next Wednesday. Who's going to join? That's what we should do. Who's going to join Bowerman next? Who's going to have the next whereabouts failure, and what meet's going to be canceled next? And then we can pre-record these things and just crank them out, like how they film game shows all at once. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Or people can live in the alternate world. Like, what if Laura Mir did join Bowerman? Coming up.
Should I do a whereabouts failures power rankings? Get some.
No.
Put it in definitely ranking fan.
You already made Iona mad. Let's not make anybody else mad.
I know. I did make a whereabouts failure listicle though, where I listed everyone that had a whereabouts failure in the past year. That was work.
Much needed content. I was very proud of you for putting that together. The baseball thing, it got me thinking though. At least when there was the rainout though, they had the previous innings to talk about, so it was something. And they said, look, we've been getting by nothing for months, right? They probably could have dissected the first inning for 4 hours, because they at least finally had, because that's how I feel. Like when we saw the Norman race, and when we saw the other invites from the AP Ranch Invitational number 4, we were just so hungry for actual races I bet that they appreciate that. And they probably wanted the full game, but I bet they appreciated having something to vamp about.
That's true. I mean, there was times when ESPN was doing entire Sports Center 1-hour recap shows on a documentary during the Jordan time. I know. Man, we really are trying here. I mean, much respect.
It was a post-game show.
Yeah, it was a post-game show of a pre-recorded archive video. It was great.
Yeah.
Anyway, Diamond Leagues, man, they got canceled again. Sorry, didn't mean to change
Yeah,
the subject.
Diamond Leagues get canceled. That's Shanghai's out. So now we're down to Monaco, Stockholm, Lausanne, Brussels, Rome, and Doha. That's what's left. Brazier said he's running Monaco and Lyles, so that's enough for me. I'm in on that one. We'll probably get other big names in Stockholm when it gets later into the summer. I don't know, or the early fall. I'm not sure how many people show up for those, but man, it's disappointing that Shanghai isn't on there. And there also is there's supposed to be another meet hosted by China. They haven't said the location yet. I'm just assuming that's going to get canceled, but I'm not sure. So there could be 7. But if you told me a couple years ago there'd be a 6 meet Diamond League series or 7 meet Diamond League series, I would take it. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I think we would take anything right now, man. We're about to
Yeah.
we might be on the cusp of like the I was gonna call like the I was gonna say call it the dry season, right? The fall. It's gonna be a dry season. There's gonna be no running. There's no marathons. There'll be no
Yeah.
cross country, right?
But
And then, but at
look
least
what we have so
we
far.
have the beginning. We have some track, so that's good.
Yeah, but look at what we've gotten out of 2020 so far. We had a marathon trials, which loses some of its steam because there's no Olympics. But you had Mondo going crazy in the pole vault. You had Mohamed's 1247, Houlihan's
We had indoor
1423.
women's
Yes,
3K, Bowerman.
indoor men's 3K. Yeah, we had just in general the dominance and the continued rise of the Bowerman women. We had Michael Norman doing something crazy in the 100, and we had Brazier showing signs that he could be a 1500-meter threat. You add that to whatever comes out of these 6 Diamond League meets, we've got something. That is something going into the Olympic year.
You know what? If we like put it together in a list, if we like list out like the best things have happened, like you said, Michael Norman 986, Donovan Brader's 1500, repeating what you just said 2 seconds ago, and you don't tell if you just put that on in a list, and you say, would you be okay with this being the results that you get out of an off year season, basically a
Yeah.
non-championship year season? Everyone would be like, yeah, that looks like a great year. You got
Yeah.
the return of, you got Michael Norman doing something crazy. You got the Bowerman people doing crazy. Like, I would love that content. So if you think about it, we're not getting the quantity of results that we normally get, right? Because there's not many meets. I mean, we had a high school sub 4 mile. Right? Don't forget about that too, right? We're not getting the quantity, but we are getting some individual quality moments that hold up, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm guessing we'll get out of these Diamond League meets and whatever's left of the season, we'll get what, 3, 4, 5 more, maybe. I mean, there's another Bowerman meet still, and the Diamond League meets, and then whatever the domestic circuit produces. We didn't even talk about Jakob Ingebrigtsen, how good he's running. But there's
Yeah.
stuff to debate in the off season, and it's tough to think about the off season. Mike almost fell. Sorry, it's tough to think about the off season when we never really had an on season, but there was enough sprinkled in there. So yeah, I'm happy that people have like somehow seem to take advantage of the few opportunities that they've had. Like Norman just came out, like he hadn't run anything else, right? That was his 2020 debut. Didn't run indoors, didn't anything like that. Pops a 986. Brazier, when he ran his 335, I mean, he had run indoors, but that was his outdoor debut. So it didn't take them long to put up some good performances.
I thought it was interesting that you said off season, and then the opposite of off season was on season, which makes sense because the opposite of on is on, off is on. But on season doesn't make sense, right? It should be in
In season,
season, right?
yeah.
And if it's in season, that means we should call the off season called out season.
Yeah.
Like it should be called the out season, not off season.
Yeah, it should be consistent. It should either be in and out or off and on.
Yeah.
We need to choose right now. What should we go with?
I mean, out season kind of it's kind. I don't like out season. It sounds weird.
I know. I think I'm more partial to off and on. Are you with me on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Change the
Yeah.
style guide.
On season. Let's do on season. What season
Yeah.
are we in? We're on season, man.
We're on
We're not on.
season,
What
and then
are we on? Are we on season right now? We're not on cross country season. We know that.
no, it's still the off season, and then the on
Okay.
season, the onset of the on season.
What do you think the board of governors, to kind of wrap this up, back to where we started, wrap up
So
this
you're ending the
podcast that
podcast
is
now.
generated by robots? What do you think the board of governors are going to vote? There's only only one item on the agenda, and is to vote on whether or not to cancel/postpone fall championships.
Who's on the board of governors?
Ooh.
I need to know everybody. I don't know.
Half of them are Republican, half of them are Democrat, so it's equality.
Okay.
It's equal. There's one libertarian dude in there who'd just like, let's just roll the dice and just go crazy. He's from Texas. He just
no taxes.
He's like, no taxes, man. Let's just do it.
Okay,
Anyway.
I don't see. I just refreshed Google to see if there's any news on this, and there isn't, because I wanted to seem really smart and predict it.
Like, they're gonna vote
or just
this way.
Or roll
and
right into
say,
our Mark Emmert will say the following: Board of Governors. I'm searching it on Twitter right now to see.
I've been searching. Yeah, I've been searching on Twitter for a while.
Okay.
I occasionally search the phrase "fall sports" just to see if anything else is canceled, and I see every high school conference being like, "We're moving it this time," all that stuff. But
yeah, well, Nevada just decided this morning to follow California's lead in terms of pushing their fall sports, all their fall sports. I know different states are doing things differently, but I think that was the first one that did it. I know some of them are moving some sports, not others.
Did you just break the news that Nevada high school is moving sports? Did you just break that?
No, I saw the news story. Repeating a news story that
you broke that news. You just broke that. Did we just break that on the FloTrack podcast? That the Nevada high school sports.
As an NIAA alum, let me just say that it was very meaningful to me. Yeah, it's where Nevada. That's where I went to high school. Yeah.
Whoa, are you one of those? If they say Nevada wrong, you correct them?
Well, everybody does that about their hometown or home state.
No.
Well,
if you say Pennsylvania wrong, I don't care.
Who says Pennsylvania wrong? Who's
no one
in the history of
Pennsylvania?
Yeah, but who's yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing.
Go to Lincoln and call it Missouri and see what he says.
Ooh. I actually have a thing about that. I was drinking at a beach this past weekend, and
okay,
I mispronounced someone's name, a friend's name.
That's hard,
right?
Was it you?
I said it the wrong way. I won't say who it was, but I said the name the wrong way. So it'd be like, I'll make up a name. Say the person's name was, I'll use my girlfriend's name, but it wasn't her. Johanna and Johanna, right? You can say a name two different ways. Johanna, right? So I said the wrong version, right? And they corrected me. And I thought, if someone called me Gordon or Gordon or Gordon, just said my name the way I normally don't say it.
Gordon. What do you mean, Gordon? That's
I
your name,
wouldn't.
Gordon.
I wouldn't correct them. My name is Gordon. I said,
yeah, but
that's why I said Gordon. But if someone called me Gordon, I would not correct them. I'll be like, okay, that I know what they meant. They meant me. I don't need to correct them.
This person probably gets it a lot, I'm sure, so it's annoying to them.
Getting it a lot doesn't mean you need. Why correct?
Yeah, because it gets annoying. It gets. And you want to. What was their name? Just tell me their name. They don't listen to the podcast.
Hold on. All right. If you were talking to someone from a foreign country where English was a second language and they didn't pronounce the right dialect of the way they say Kevin, they said Kevon. Would you be would you correct that person? No, they know what they're implying. They're implying you. Why?
Wait, they're from this person's from a different country?
No. But if a person from a different country said your name wrong, you wouldn't correct them, would you?
Just tell me the name.
Or what if you had an accent? What if you had a southern accent? Are we gonna say you can't talk to me in your southern accent? No, but if someone did have a southern accent and said my name in a southern accent, I'm not gonna be like, that isn't correct. You only can say Gordon with a northeastern Pennsylvania style accent. I'll be like, no, you meant me, and I'm gonna accept it. I don't need to force someone's dialect to match my dialect, and I think that's just wrong.
Just tell me the name. Show me the name, and I
I'm not
can
gonna
give a
say the name.
ruling
I'm
on
not
this.
gonna say a name, but I'm just saying, man. Like
They don't listen
you know,
to the podcast. Here, okay, I'll spell their name then. Spell. You don't have to say it. Just spell the name.
no.
Give me what it
It's
rhymes
just
with.
like,
There's
yeah.
no way they listen to the podcast. Who
Are you
is
saying
it?
people don't
Are
listen
they
to the podcast? We're the number
this?
one trending podcast in the track and field community that talks about Diamond League whereabouts / Bowerman Track Club. Number one.
I find it hard. I just want to know. I can't give a complete ruling here. Listen, you completely butchered Ulysses S. Grant's name, so I'm inclined to side with
Yeah, and
whoever's
if
name you feel.
Ulysses S. Grant's, great great grandchild sends me an email saying you said his name wrong, I'm going to not respond. I'm going to delete it. I'm not going to answer. I'll be you just like sorry.
I think it comes down to you, like they want you to know, number one, because it's probably been an issue for them before, and
But
also
why
if
is it
you're
an
their
issue?
friend, because if you're their friend, you want to take time to call them by the right name.
I
That's
am
the thing.
but
It's just
like
like when we
you don't
commentate and
does a
we screw
person
up
get to just
names. When we
does a
commentate and we
person
screw
get
up names,
yeah.
there's two types of that stuff, right? There's the man, I've been commentating for uh whatever. I just made the mistake, right? You know that this person's name was pronounced this way and you just did it wrong. But then there's also the time when you mispronounce someone's name because you're reading it for the first time and you're like, that's kind of on me. Like I should have prepped, to know how to pronounce their name. I'm not talking about like just a random meet. I'm talking about like a big name, person or a bigger name person. And yeah, you got to take the time to learn it. That's just your responsibility as a commentator. And that's your responsibility as this person's beach friend who you won't say their name because apparently they listen to the podcast. Was it Brian Dybel of
They
Milesplit?
don't listen
Is
to the
that what
they
you
don't
called him?
listen they don't
Was
listen to the
it was Brian?
podcast.
Was it
No, we're
Alonzo?
done.
Did they work for Milesplit?
They don't work for Milesplit. They don't
Can I
work in
guess?
running. They don't
Do
work
I
in
know the
running.
person? Do I know the person?
No, you do not know the person.
Ryan,
So there's
Ryan
no point in
Fenton.
guessing. Stop.
Alex Loy.
Ryan? Is that what I
Yeah, I
called
don't
him?
know. I'd be
Ryan.
pissed if you messed up my name. I'd be pissed.
If I mess up your name, you'd
So
not be pissed. You would just ignore it. You'd be all right, whatever.
continually.
I wish you had a name that I could say wrong, so then we could have a true debate on this.
I would
But you
probably be on
don't.
this if I don't even know their name. This is ridiculous that you won't say this person's name. They don't work in running. They don't work for our company. There's no way they're going to listen to this and you won't say their name. I mean, I guess that's good for your sources. They know that you'll always protect their information.
Yes, I protect my sources.
That's what you're signaling to all your sources out there who do listen to this podcast to make sure you don't burn them. That you're not going to say things the wrong way. We got an email that said you're their favorite person on the pod. By the way, I don't know if that makes you feel better. Yeah, I was surprised
my mom wrote in. That's great.
Does your mom have does she go by the name of? I could read this for you. Do you want me to read this for you?
Why?
I'll read it for you. I'll read it for you because he wrote a whole email. He wrote a whole email. It's from Preston. Last name is Mac.
Preston Mac. Oh yeah, Preston. We go way back.
First off, just want to say thank you for the great content every day. It's always very entertaining, and it's not uncommon for me to be running down the road laughing out loud to myself. Anyone that sees me probably thinks I'm a lunatic. Anyway, he asked about why there seems to be an abnormally high level of whereabouts failures this year. And he said, it'd be interesting to hear from someone from WADA on the pod, either live or some direct quotes, and get both sides of the story of what's going on. Any chance on this? Well, Preston, you're in luck. A few weeks ago, I interviewed the head of the AIU, Athletics Integrity Unit, Brett Clothier. And that was after the Nassar whereabouts failure, but before Coleman and, of course, Manangoi. But I asked him that exact question. So you can find that. If you can't find it, let me know. I'll email you a link. But then he says, also, I have to add that I've listened to every single episode beginning to end since you guys launched the pod. I would like to put my name in the running as potential biggest fan alongside the three girls from Utah. Has Gordon ever done an intro before? He is probably my favorite host, although it's not an easy decision, but I don't think he has ever done an intro aside from the interview he did with Trayvon Bromell on his own. What's up with that?
That is true. I don't do intros.
And I think we know why. No, because we want to get off to a good start, and we want everyone's name pronounced correctly at the beginning. So.
I think there was a one time where I did an intro, and Lincoln messed it up because before the fake podcast about the shoe King on Netflix series. I did the intro
fake?
at first. Oh, well, I did
We're
the
still doing the
intro,
bit,
but
right?
then yeah, we're still doing a bit. But Lincoln like immediately said like, and just to remind everyone, today is April 1st, 2020. That's right, April 1st, and just kept on saying the word April 1st. And I was like, no, man, you can't give away the joke in the beginning. Like, so let people think, So then we had to redo it, and then I just said, you just open, and then he opened.
Do you want to start opening?
No,
Do you
it's
feel
okay.
bad about that?
I don't. Nah, it's good. I don't need to open. It's fine.
Okay. I don't feel the Lincoln opened the Brazier interview, and he opened and closed that one. So yeah, I don't know. There's no real reason for it.
Keep listening to the
Gordon.
pod to find out the next time I open. It's a reason to keep going, right?
Yeah, we got one more I want to read here from Ryan. He says, "Man of the FloTrack podcast. In the recent episode, you were comparing the AP ranch meet to different sports, and you missed the obvious comparison. The NBA All-Star Game. Every race had one person who tried, just like the All-Star Game has one person who tries every possession, but no one is even defending them. Like no one's competing in the race. The only reason those players play in the game is because they have to, even though they don't actually care and just want a vacation, just like how they just want to leave quarantine." That is Ryan, and I'll admit, he nailed it. And Lincoln and I missed it when we were doing our comparison. Well done, Ryan.
I agree. I wouldn't NBA All-Star Game. I would say more definitely Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl is extreme. Like that's
because who wants to get tackled? Yeah, no.
But surprisingly, I mean, did you watch the NBA All-Star Game this past year? It was actually
I didn't.
They tried
the Elam ending, right? Yeah, they did the Elam ending, so it was a little different.
They changed how they did, and like all like the top people like LeBron and Giannis just benched everyone that doesn't matter, and like we are the five, and we're gonna play these final 5 minutes, and we're gonna try to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I think but for the beginning part, like you say, you just have to show up. But yeah, that's a good point. But the difference there is, I guess, I guess it is the same. But like even watching LeBron James like casually lay up is a lot more entertaining than watching LaShawn Merritt run a 50-second 200.
Yeah, because nobody guards LeBron, and he goes down the middle of the court and does a windmill dunk, which none of us can do. But we all can. Well, most of us at some point in our life could run the vaunted 53-second 300 that was laid down there. But I like it from the perspective of, not every track meet is like this, but not every All-Star game is like that. But there's definitely been some All-Star games where literally they're just screwing around until that last part, which, Michael Norman wasn't screwing around in the 100, right? So there were some people who showed up there. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is the email address. Write in. Let us know if Gordon is your favorite or least favorite member of the podcast trio. There is no room for middle ground there. You got to pick. It's either best or worst. We'll leave it there. Apologize if this podcast is out of date. That is my fault for not pushing it back, but also Gordon's fault for not advocating strongly enough. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Any last words, Gordon, for our loyal listeners?
No, Monday's going to be a wild pod because I think we're going to be talking about what do we do now, because I think cross country will be axed in a few hours.
Well,
that's my thoughts.
We already got the episode title. So, Alon, get this up ASAP so we can title it. We'll talk to you guys next week.